We've started. It's
We
Friday.
we have started. It is Friday.
It's not snowing.
Exactly. What a crazy week. Oh my gosh. I can't remember, ever having snow at my house in March. And March 1st,
Unreal.
when I left to go to work, it
Oh,
was, it didn't hit it melted as soon as it hit the ground. But man, what a crazy week
wow.
it's been.
Well, and last weekend was rock and roll, and I know you did the 10K, and
Yep.
it was a little chilly.
When I finished, I mean, honestly, it was still light out when I finished. And man,
Yeah,
I was shivering.
yeah,
By the
yeah.
time we got to our bags, I was uncontrollably shivering.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I actually spent some time waiting for somebody, and I was underneath one of they had the nice little heaters there,
Yeah, yeah, that was
and
good.
it actually dried me out. So I felt,
Okay.
oh, I got dry, and
Mm-hmm.
my head got dry, my shirt got dried out a little bit. So I was surprised I was still got that cold, but that wind coming from the north was
Yeah, yeah.
just enough to cool you down.
Oh yeah, yeah, because that air was cold, and it was weird. It actually warmed up a little bit after the 10K, but then it got cold again. But yeah, and even the night before with the 5K,
Oh, that must
that
have been
was
miserable.
cold and rainy and windy, and the combination, any one of those you can deal with, but all three, not a lot of fun.
Yeah, I felt really bad for you that I knew you're riding the bike, but at least
Yeah,
you're riding a bike, so you
yeah,
could you had your rain gear on.
yeah, yeah.
But
I
yeah,
kept going
that's
back to my car and grabbing extra layers. Oh, it was pretty funny. I was starting out with just my shorts and leg warmers, and by the time I was done, I think I had my ski pants on. I had a layer under that, and yeah, trying to just stay warm and dry as you can.
well, and we're 4 weeks away from Oceanside.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's coming so quick. I'm so not ready, but that's okay. We're gonna go
yeah,
have some fun.
yeah.
Love being down in that area. It's such a great place to be. So yeah, I'm pretty excited. How about you?
No, yeah, same thing. I'm doing pretty good on my fitness plan. I think I'm going to be able to hit my fitness that I want on race day.
Awesome.
But you still feel like you got to cram a little bit more in, just for that first race, and yeah, it'll be fun. But yeah, Oceanside's fun. It's a nice drive over. It's a beautiful area. So and it's a good course. Very the bike ride is very honest. The swim is obviously very honest. You gotta get through those breakers, and the run, mostly flat, but it's got some grade to it.
I love that run.
Yeah,
I found it breaks up really good. There's
yeah.
sections of it, right?
Hmm.
You're on the beach, you're in the
Yeah,
harbor, you're
yeah.
in, I to me that's a great run.
That second downhill part though is that's a quad buster right there.
Yes. Yeah. But you don't have to run it.
No, that's right. I often would not. I would because I was always afraid of blowing out a knee on the downturn and
Well, it's steep
it
for
is.
sure.
It is.
I can remember last year getting into that spot, and I made the turn, and I was running with this younger guy. He must have put 20 yards on me in 20 seconds
Yeah, yeah.
because he just let it bah, 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 bah. And I'm like, I'm conservative. I do not.
Right.
I gotta use these quadriceps for another like 10K here.
Yeah.
I better
That's
take it
right.
easy on this downhill.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Yeah, so we've got these races on the horizon. So
Yep.
we were thinking about what we're going to talk about tonight, and it's probably good to talk about organizing for that race because, we've talked about, trying to lead up to a race so you have your best performance. And a lot of that is just putting things to rest that you should not worry about. And organization is a big part of where you're going to stay, how you're going to get from one place to another, what are you going to do, what's your schedule look like race week, but then what are you taking on race day?
Yeah. Well, and planning that out even before, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
One of the things that I like to do during like my taper week is to tinker,
yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And put my stuff together. And because you go from training maybe 3 hours, 2, 3 hours a day to maybe 1 hour a day,
Hmm.
or maybe you have a
Yeah.
rest day. And you got to keep your mind occupied,
Hmm.
right? Get the bike together, clean the bike,
Yeah.
do these things. And one of the things I like to do is create lists
Yeah. Yeah.
and make sure I got the things I need to have.
Yeah.
We live in a pretty cool world right now that if on Monday I recognize I don't have something I need, I can order it.
That's right.
And worst case scenario, I could order it to be delivered to Oceanside,
That's true.
you
Hmm.
know. and which I've done before, like, just having an Amazon drop delivery. So, I like to start to put my stuff together
Yeah.
like the weekend before, the Monday
Hmm.
before,
Yeah.
so I can recognize that, especially for the first race of the year.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it
Because
just it gets that worry out of the way.
yeah,
And you get 95% of your stuff ready to go. And what we're going to talk about tonight is actually organizing that stuff even ahead of time too. So it's one less thing to worry about when you pick up your packet and you got to start pulling your stuff together. You're not thinking, oh, wait, what goes in what bag? You already got this all planned out.
yeah, yeah. And as many times I've done this, and you've done this, we don't leave it to memory.
No, that's right.
You know, the memory is what we've written down from the last races we've done, and I make notes and I add things.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, this would be
Wow.
something I'd like to add to my list. And we've talked about the like lists of lists,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
tonight we thought we would share our lists with everybody. And I'm going to post my lists, at least a couple of them, into the Facebook live chat.
Hmm.
So if people want to, you feel free to steal them. They're all in PowerPoint. Feel free to steal them, make changes however you want. Um, I have no secrets. It's just, this is what I bring,
Yeah,
and I think it's maybe a good starting point. And I know you can go online and you can find these lists of what people to use, but this is coming from people that like John and myself that have been doing triathlon for many, many years, and so what we found to be
mhm,
a successful way to do it.
yeah. And each of us have multiple lists
Yeah.
because each race presents something unique.
Yep.
And whether it's an environment, whether it's a hot race, whether it's a cold race, whether it's point to point, whatever it is, maybe you got a bus ride to the start line, whatever it is, each race is a little bit unique. And so both you and I have multiple lists and unique lists for each race. I mean, there's a lot of commonality between the lists, but at the end of the day, you gotta tweak a little bit based upon that specific race. And I think it's important to note we're talking about the longer races, maybe
Yeah.
70.3 or iron distance type races.
Yeah.
I do plan out my sprint races and Olympic races, but just at a little less of a detail than
Yeah.
I do with the longer races because of less stuff.
Yeah. No, it's true. And I do have a list for an Olympic distance if it's like a championship type
Yeah,
race,
yeah.
what I mean? Where
Hmm.
I want everything to be absolutely perfect.
Hmm.
And then I just have a generic sprint list.
Yeah, yeah.
That a local race sprint list. I have a
I-
generic one. Yeah.
I've got my go bag. My go bag's packed with my sprint stuff. So if we had a race
You
this
ready to go
weekend,
right now, huh?
I'd be able to grab it and I'd have 90% of the stuff in there that I need. So that's
Oh
my
man.
my go bag is my sprint tri gear.
I
So
love the fact you have a go bag and it's ready. It's March 3rd
yeah,
and John's got a go bag because like there's triathlons in California this weekend.
yeah, yeah. Let's
Right.
go.
So John's
I'm
ready.
ready.
Just, Sunday there's a race. See ya. I'm gonna drive my trailer down and I'll stay the night and I'll race and I'll be back.
Put me on the start line, coach. I'm ready.
I
All
love
right.
it.
Well, what do you want to start with? A cold race, a hot race?
Well, let's start with I'm gonna share my Oceanside
Okay.
list. And I actually have not updated this for this year yet. So this is last year's Oceanside list. And let me share my screen. Cold water. Sure. Okay. So can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. And so this is not going to be great for the people on the podcast, but we'll talk through each one of these.
Hmm.
Okay. So this is my race morning bag. So this is an interesting one. This is what I'm going to be bringing in my backpack to or be ready for in the morning. I guess that's a better way to put it. So
Hmm.
it's either going on me or in my bag.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Actually, sorry. I this is going on me.
Okay.
These are, or well, I guess it's a combination.
Mm.
That's going on me. So a heart rate monitor. It's funny.
Hmm.
The first thing I put on in the morning is a heart rate monitor. I, I
Yeah.
have I have these things all laid out in my room if I'm traveling.
Okay.
So these are all laid out.
So
I got
you're
my,
wearing this to
yeah,
Oceanside start. Okay.
yeah. So,
So,
and it's not always in, this is not in order by any means, but so then I put my, my shorts on, I'm in racing, my race top. Then I put a long sleeve shirt on. Then I put my pants on,
mm-hmm.
warm jacket. The shoes I'm going to be
Yep.
walking over to the start in at Oceanside. We're going to walk from our house to the start. I have throwaway socks.
Yep.
So socks that I'm going to, wear from my transition into, almost to the water.
Mm-hmm.
My timing chip, I like to have it on, put it on in the morning before I
It's so
even
important you get it
leave.
on there twice.
Yep. Well, you know why? Because I forgot my timing chip before. So I put it on there twice.
There you go.
And then I have calf sleeves that I put on there as well, and a hat. And that's pretty much it
Mm-hmm.
for my race morning bag.
Yeah. You know, that's smart. Or this is what you're wearing.
This is what I'm
Uh,
wearing. So this is going to be all laid out in my
yep.
room,
Yep.
right? And so the night before I lay it all out, and
Yep.
once again I check that I have each of these things and they're laid out, and then I just put them on kind of in order.
And what I love about this is that takes out the need to make decisions in the morning.
Yeah.
Wait, am I putting this on? Am I carrying it? Am I gonna put it on in transition? No, just make this I love this. Just put this heart rate monitor. How many times have we forgotten to put our heart rate monitor on, got our wetsuit on, and it's like,
Yeah.
well, now what do I do?
Yeah.
So I love this that you've got that right there. Put the heart rate monitor on, put your timing chip on, and all this. It is less decisions you need to make that morning.
Yeah. I don't want to make any decisions in
Yeah,
that in the morning as far as what I'm going to be wearing.
yeah,
Because once again, that just adds stress, right? Like I don't want to be, and I don't want to be like searching around. Oh, where
yeah,
are those socks I want to
yeah,
wear? Where,
right, right.
there's just no option for me on this one.
All right, I
Then
love that.
my next bag is what I bring to T1.
Mm-hmm,
So this is in my backpack. So I've got my wetsuit.
mm-hmm,
I've got 2 pairs of goggles.
mm-hmm.
I got swim caps because for a cold water race, I usually wear 2.
Yep.
I have gels. I usually have a gel on the walk over and then a gel right before I start.
Okay.
I was using PR lotion last year, and I might still use it this year. I'm kind of not sure.
Mm-hmm.
Um, swim lube. So after I put my wetsuit on, I like to put lube around my neck,
Yep.
and I lube up my legs or my
Yep.
arms to help me my wetsuit off.
Mm-hmm.
I drink beet juice.
Mm-hmm.
That's my drink in the morning, and then I bring my helmet.
Yep. Oh, I love
Um,
this. Okay, so again, for the people who are looking and viewing this on YouTube or live, the colors don't mean anything. They're just
no,
sort of drawing attention. And
yeah.
again, this is a very concise list of what you need, and this is all going in a bag that you're carrying over.
Yep.
Okay.
This is exactly what I'm wearing.
I like
Or
that, and
what I'm
even
bringing.
the fuel you're going to have.
But
So
this is morning to T1 swim.
yeah.
So I have a morning to T1 bike as
Okay.
well.
Mm-hmm.
So bring my pump. Got to have my pump. Bike computer, Gatorade blocks. That's what I put in.
Yeah.
If I want to have a gel on the bike, I bring
Okay.
it. My hydration for the bike, PR
Mm-hmm.
lotions again.
Yeah.
Foot warmers.
Yeah.
So I actually, under my toe covers, which we're going to talk
Uh-huh.
about. Actually, if it's really cold, I'll actually put foot warmers, those hot shot things.
Yeah. Yeah.
My beet juice again. I always like to bring some tape because you never know.
What kind of tape?
Usually electric tape.
Okay.
You never know.
Mhm.
You know, I've seen people like break a bolt or whatever, and they've got
Yeah,
tape.
yeah.
Like whatever. Tape's kind of a ubiquitous thing. Obviously, I've got my helmet again because I don't want to. Like I sometimes add things on 2 things. So I'll check it twice.
Okay.
That's another one. I cannot live without my helmet.
Mm-hmm.
Right. If I get down to the race start and I don't have my helmet, I can't race.
Yeah.
A lot of things you can kind of get away with. Clean visor. So make sure my visor is clean, even though within 10 minutes it gets all
Mm-hmm.
sweated up anyways. My bike shoes with toe covers and socks.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's again a very complete list. And yeah, so your helmet was on the previous list too.
Yeah.
So you're gonna be sure to have that.
Yeah.
And again, you're taking the gels and the hydration that you're gonna fill up the bike with when you
Yep,
get there, because you don't leave everything the night before. The Oceanside, we drop our bike off the day before,
yep,
and you take all this fuel to add to that bike,
yep.
that
Well,
you
I
use
don't like to
during the
leave,
race.
especially the gels and stuff. I don't like to leave those on the bike.
Mm-hmm,
You know, it's because like the Gatorade blocks, another one, like I open them up in the morning,
mm-hmm.
right? Like I don't leave them, especially in a really humid place. They just turn into mush.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah. So this is stuff you're putting, this isn't what you're eating before the race. This is what you're going, putting on
I'm
your
gonna
bike.
put on the bike.
Yep,
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah.
Love it.
And then I don't have it here, but sometimes I'll actually even bring a spare tube
Okay, yep,
just
yep,
just in case.
yep.
Like it's never happened to me where I've had an issue, but I'll sometimes throw it
Yeah.
in there. I probably should add that anyways.
That's almost one of the first things when I walk over to my bike in the morning, first thing I do is make sure that the tires aren't flat. That
Exactly.
something happened. Yeah, that's good.
Um,
Okay.
next next one is my run bag.
Hmm.
So depending on the race, right? So this race I can set up, you set up your run and your bike at the same time.
Hmm.
If it's a split race, it's going to be maybe potentially a little bit different, but well, not really different. So I have my running shoes and I want to lubricate them. I lubricate the heel so I don't get blisters. 3 bottles of hot shots.
Yeah.
That's for cramping. A small water bottle. I like to run out of T1 with a water bottle.
Okay.
Um, just a small one. I usually throw it away at the first aid station.
Okay.
I bring my running watch. So I actually don't bike with my running watch. I keep it in. I keep it at the transition zone.
Okay.
Another gel.
Hmm.
Once again, I know they have gels at the first aid station, but sometimes I want something even before the first
Yep.
aid station. A visor or a hat, depending on what it's going to be like, right?
Okay.
Sometimes I wear a visor, sometimes I wear a hat. My run socks, and so now I have bike socks and run socks.
Hmm.
I learned this lesson at the 70.3 Worlds in 2021 when it was pouring rain, and my bike socks were so wet that
Mm.
I took them off and ran without socks. So I'm always bringing an extra pair of socks now,
Yeah, that's good.
and then my race belt with a number on it.
Yeah. That's good. And when you say run bag, now these most of the races in Oceanside is this way. We do well. Wait a second, we're Oceanside. No, it's not
It'll
like
be at the
this.
bike. It'll be at the bike.
Yeah, I thought that we were still leaving stuff at the bike.
Yeah, I will. So what I do is in my backpack, I have another bag
Yeah,
with all the run stuff in it.
right, right.
Does that make sense? So
Yep,
I have a big backpack with my bike stuff,
right,
my swim stuff, and my run stuff, and it's all in like separate bags
right.
so that I keep track of everything.
No, that's perfect. And some races we have to bag it and then drop the bags off.
Yeah,
Some races, like what we're talking about here, you would take the bag to your transition and then set up your transition
right.
with all the gear as well. I like that. And I always keep my bags from the previous year when we do get you get a morning clothes bag, you get a run bag, you get a bike bag, and you get that's it, right? Yeah, 3 bags, right?
Special needs if it's a
Special needs. That's
yeah,
right. That's right.
Ironman. Yeah,
Yeah, and so I keep those bags from previous races, and then I do exactly what you do. I pack them ahead of time, and I just change the number.
yep, yeah. I do the same thing. You taught me that actually.
Ah,
I started doing that. I actually the last or maybe sometime last year was at a race and actually swindled an extra set of bags,
yeah,
and
yeah,
so I have a fresh set of bags.
that's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, because I was putting stuff in a bag like a cinch sack or something, and then I was like, wait, why don't I just put it in the bags I had from another race? They're the
yeah,
same color, they're the same, everything. All I need to do is just update the number, and there's one less thing to do. So yeah, no, that's great.
exactly. And
All
then I
right.
have a post race bag, and so this actually it goes with my wife,
Mm-hmm.
and so she doesn't watch most of the races anymore, which is completely fine.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
so cool with that. But if she's gonna be at the finish, this is what
yeah,
she brings me. So I want to have a protein drink right
yeah.
away. It's actually a carbohydrate / protein drink. I want to for this race. I know it's usually pretty warm by the time you
Mm-hmm.
finish. So a
Mm-hmm.
t-shirt, shorts. I want like clean
Yeah.
clothes, sandals. I want to get out of
Mhm.
my running shoes, and I want a hat,
Yeah.
a dry hat. And that's yeah, that's my post race bag.
I love it. Now, if it was a race where you're dropping off your Mona clothes bag, do you put all this in your Mona clothes bag?
Yes,
Yeah. Okay.
exactly, exactly.
Hmm.
So yeah, this would be another. Well, or if I knew, for example, that Marie wasn't going to be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I know for sure she's gonna make the finish, I wouldn't even bother with that
Right.
because she'll be right there.
Yeah.
I'll find her within 2 or 3 minutes after I finish, and
Hmm.
I got all the things I want.
That's great.
Yeah.
So before like race week, you print this up, this whole
Yep.
file, and
Yep.
then.
I print out 2 copies.
Hmm.
So one that I have at the house as I'm packing everything, and I'll pack
Yeah.
them into specific bags.
Okay.
But then, for example, like you get there and you're gonna go for a bike ride the day before,
Hmm.
right? I'm gonna take my shoes out, and I'm gonna have my helmet, and I might have my bike computer,
Yeah.
or I might be walking around with my watch or
Yeah.
whatever. So then the day before the race, I have a new sheet that I go through
Hmm.
again.
Hmm.
So I have 2 copies.
Mm, that's great.
Yep. And then I just take a little like a Sharpie, and I'll just like cross, protein drink, cross it off.
Yeah.
T-shirt,
Right.
cross it
Right.
off.
Hmm. Oh, that's good. And I've seen people write on their bags and check them off too. And I remember one time saying, "Oh, what are they doing that for?" And sort of, poo-pooing it. And then I'm like, actually, that's a really good idea. You got to make sure that it goes in the bag, and that you put it and you check it, and again, it's a very effective checklist.
Yeah. Yeah. And whatever works for you, right? Like
Yeah. Right.
this is what I found has been pretty, works well for me.
Hmm.
Um, but everyone's different. And then like I don't have one yet, but I need to get, because we haven't, since I started doing this system, I want one for like a flying race. Like if
Hmm.
I'm flying to a race,
Yeah.
it's going to be different stuff.
Yeah.
And I have one for Ironman. I have one for hot weather races.
Hmm.
And then they're just slightly different, each of
Yeah.
them, and what you need. And it's pretty easy to predict. Like Oceanside, I've raced it 4 times. It's pretty much been the same every time.
Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
Right. St. George, on the other hand, it could be, in May, it could be cold or hot,
Hmm.
you know. So you have to play, you play with what you know, I
Yeah.
guess. Yeah.
Well, and I like it the way we started off on this. I like doing this too, just because it gives you a little bit deeper dive on the race and what you're trying to do. And so by looking at your specific gear for that race and making that list for that race, it's sort of getting you in that mindset of that race. And so I think this is just helpful, again, just to get to the start line, knowing that you've done everything you can do to have your best race.
Did the next one come up, the full Ironman?
Uh, this is World Championship St. George. Yep.
Okay, so this is my full Ironman, and
Okay.
this was for the World Championship this
Yep.
year. And so I have something. It's very similar. I was actually when I put little checks into things where I decided I didn't need them.
Okay. Okay.
But the only thing difference is I have my special needs. That's all I have.
Right. Right.
But I
Right.
had one specifically for special needs. And my post race bag was a little bit different.
Yeah.
I put a toque in there because I didn't know how cold it
Yeah.
was going to be. My run
And,
bag was a little bit different because I wanted like cold arm sleeves.
hmm.
Um, yeah. So just once again, just want to show like I have different ones for
Yeah.
different.
Well, go back. And this is a different type of race than
Yep.
Oceanside. You
Yep.
you had to wait. Did you have to get the shuttle for St. George?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you had to put in your race morning.
So morning to T1 bag.
That's right. All right.
Yep.
You needed to account for doing a shuttle ride, and I noticed on your race, the slide before this one, I mean, you've got a little bit more gear here. You've got the pants. Um,
It's pretty similar because I had pants before.
oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, I think so. And then yeah, yeah. I don't know why I have swim shorts, but anyways, it
Yeah.
worked at the time. But you're
Hmm.
right, because like this was bringing it to T1 through the shuttle.
Yeah. right.
And then I had still my T1 bike bag. This is what's going to go on the bike or on
Hmm.
me.
Yeah.
And then a T2 run bag, which is once again, because of a split transition, this was going to be in the bag, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a post race bag and a special needs bag. Oh, I had a special needs, sorry, I had a special needs run bag as
Oh,
well.
yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah.
So I like this a lot. And, the other thing, and I think you do the same thing, is you start scripting out your race morning as well.
Yeah.
Uh, where you want to be and at what time. And I always review this with anyone I'm racing with. If it's Laura and I, we're going through it in the morning or, the evening and saying, okay, when we get to T1, I'm going to go to my bike, you're going to go to your bike. Here's what we're going to do. And then we're just going to check in and make sure that we each are set at that point.
Yeah.
But I like to have a mindset even of, okay, I'm going to T1. I'm going to go to my bike. I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And I'll write it out too. Not to get that, picky with the details, but again, it's the less decisions I need to make race morning, the better I'll do because otherwise I'll make mistakes.
So for me with that kind of stuff, it depends on how serious the race is for me.
Yeah.
Like if I'm trying for a qualifying spot somewhere,
Hmm.
like, and this is the A race of the year, I get quite a bit more particular. If it's a race, I'm just going to race and have fun.
Right.
I'm not as concerned about that because it's not the end of
Hmm.
the world.
Hmm.
And even like with the 70.3s where you can pretty much start late. I mean,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? As long as you know what time the transition closes
Yeah. Right.
and you can get your stuff together. And actually it's an interesting thing, uh, is how much time do you need to get your stuff together right? And I've kind of got it down to where I can get my stuff together depending on the type of race, whether, we're having to hang our bags at a championship race or an
Yeah.
Ironman compared to like Oceanside where there's more time.
Yeah.
I don't need more than 10 minutes.
No,
Like, and that includes pumping my tires.
that's right.
Like, so and I can backtrack and time things out,
Yeah.
hopefully, unless I make a mistake, which I've been known to make mistakes. But I think that sometimes people get so nervous, right? Oh, well,
Mhm.
transition opens at 4:30. I need to be there at 4:30.
Right. Right.
And it's like, well, what are you going to do once your bike is
Hmm.
set up? You're there at 4:30 and at 4:45,
Hmm.
you're ready to go. And the race doesn't start till 6.
Hmm.
There's a lot of nervous energy that you can
Yeah.
waste
Yeah.
at that time. I'd rather sit in my room, sit in my like if
Mhm.
I'm awake at that time anyways,
Yeah.
I'd rather stay away from that. Or if I go and set my stuff up, I get out.
Yeah.
I just go somewhere quiet.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's been where we've had some of the championship races I've done or bigger races I've done where the transition area would close at 7 and I wouldn't start till 9 or 10.
Hmm. Yeah. Right. Right.
Like US Nationals was like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And there's people congregating around and all like nervous, and I would
Hmm.
just go find the quietest spot I could,
Yep.
right?
That's good.
And get that nervous energy. But in general, John, how long does it take you to set up your bike?
Oh,
Or
it doesn't.
your T1?
No, it doesn't take long at all because, like you said, we've done it so many times. I often will account for something to go wrong.
Yep.
And usually it has to do with the bike and whether or not the tires or, if the tube has blown out overnight or whatever. I mean, worst case scenario, I'm dealing with that. But to set up your bike, it doesn't take long, 5-10 minutes, and then go. Now, when I script things out, I often will do it depending on the complexity of T1
Right.
because sometimes you have to do things in a certain order based upon the way the transition's laid out. And so, like, I'm just thinking back to Indian Wells. You have to go get your wetsuit, because your wetsuit was hanging out the night before because you had to dip it the night before because of the
Oh, that's right.
water issue. So you got to do that first. And once you get that, then you go to the bike, and then so how long does it take me to get to the wetsuits and so forth. And so, sometimes with the complexity, I just like to have that schedule in my mindset. But you're right. I've done races where, you just show up, you put your stuff down, and you go. And it doesn't necessarily take a lot. But the bigger races, the more complex the transitions are, probably the more detail I'm actually spending on it.
But if you think about it in an Ironman race, it's clean transitions.
Hmm.
What do you really have to do? You have to pump your tires,
Yeah.
put your nutrition on your bike,
Mm-hmm.
Make sure and turn on your bike computer.
Yeah.
Make sure your tires are they didn't blow out, but really, it shouldn't take you more than 3 or 4 minutes to get in and get out.
And as long as, and you're right, and that's another reason why you spend a little bit of detail the day before when you drop
Exactly.
the bike off to
Yep.
make sure it's in the right gear, it's
Yep.
hung correctly, your battery's charged.
Yeah. 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 No, it was, I think it was last year at Oceanside or maybe a year and a half ago at Oceanside that I, well, they, Ironman messed up on the timing and they said, okay, you know what? We're going to start loading people into whatever zone at 6:30 or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm good. I'll get here at 6. I
Hmm.
got a half hour. It was clean transitions. It's going to take
Yeah.
me 5 minutes.
Yep.
So I get there at 6 and then they're like, they're calling my wave.
Right, right.
I'm like, you said we weren't loading till
Yeah.
6:30. You're calling my wave at 6. And now I'm like, oh, I'm freaking out.
Yeah, right.
And I think I got everything together in like 3 minutes.
Yeah, right, right.
Yeah. But that once again, because the day before I had everything pretty much set
Yeah.
and my bags were already hung.
Yep.
You don't have access to your bags anyways. And it's the same with an
Yeah.
Ironman. Like if your stuff is hung, it's hung. You're not going to go see it in the morning anyways.
No,
All right,
we
John.
took it
Oh,
over
good.
planned. Yeah.
I want to see your lists.
All right. What was I just gonna say? Oh, but
Oh,
speaking of this, and I actually I liked what you said, where you leave transit once you're done, you get out, and I do the same thing. I don't want to be in transition
yeah.
after I'm set up. I want to go find someplace comfortable to be. Well, and this is why when we do a travel race, we often will try to find a hotel as close to the transition, especially T1, as possible because we've done it where we've gone in, set up our transition and gone back to the room
Yep.
and just hung out and waited until it was time to go down to do the swim start. So, I remember when we did Mount Tremblant, we did that. I'm drawing blanks on some other races. Louisville, we did that. Even when we did ZLMC, we weren't at the start. That was a different one. Yeah. But it is good to try to be close. We found it was good if you can. Oh, Hawaii 70.3, we did that. The hotel's right there at the swim start and T1, so that was super easy. All
But
right, my list.
but a luxury you don't always get. Like,
No, that's right. No, definitely not.
there's almost nowhere at Oceanside that I think you can get that's really convenient to go back to the hotel after T1.
No, there's not. And I've always been thinking I'll just take my trailer and park on the street somewhere. But but even then, it's like, where do you park? Do you park near the swim or do you park near the finish line? So okay, so here's my list, and this is a little bit old, but I actually have another list in another binder that I use now, but this one I still have electronically, and I've got all these columns, and a lot of this does depend on if it's a race that I'm traveling to, or if it is a, a, a smaller race, and so this is sort of my master list that I put everything on, and then I've got different sheets for different races. And so this goes all the way back to Silverman 2010.
Wow.
Oh, yeah, and I've got a Japan list on here somewhere. So, but
Well, this is nice because you can pull, right? You can pull, you
yep,
basically copy and paste this into a new sheet, correct?
yep, that's right.
And then you can just erase the things you don't want.
That's right. Erase it, delete it, and maybe add. But if I add something, then I usually bring it back and put it down on my master list. So I've got race gear that I ultimately will select from pre-race gear, just like you talk about. Swimsuit, bike shorts, bike shirt, run short, run shirt. Wait, why do I have pre-race gear? Oh, again, these are just going to be.
In the morning, you wear a hat. I wear a hat in the
That's right.
morning.
That's
You
right.
you don't have your heart rate monitor on there.
No, I don't. So, and then I do need to update this one. So then pre-race food, which this changes based upon the race, but
Yeah.
this was my master list at the time that I was doing this. So coffee, pancake mix, rice, bagels, peanut butter, honey, pretzels, just things I know I'm going to need. And I just have to make sure I shop and either packed it to go with me or to get it when I get to the race location. The different nutrition that I would be trying for different races. Then I had my warm gear list.
Yep.
Again, if it's going to be a cold race, I just want to be able to remember that I need to take some of these things. Support gear, this is everything from Vaseline, a towel, chalk, which we don't really use anymore, sunscreen, a poncho, glasses case if I was taking my glasses, hand sanitizer. Yeah, this is a while ago. So this was pre-COVID. I still had hand sanitizer on. I always pack a marker too if I
Yep.
wanted to do my own marking. Contacts, USAT card, which is now digital, post-race stuff, razors, what have you. So, um, and then tools, I would make sure I took some specific tools. Again, I get the electrical tape as well. So I like that on here. Electronics, this would be for traveling. Uh,
Yep.
so I want to have a list. I want to make sure I'm taking my headphones, my phone charger, my GPS charger, which I was using at the time. Don't forget my phone. So it's silly what you put down, but again, it's just stuff that this would have been a long time ago where I started this. And then depending on yeah, if there's no, I put notes in here. If there's no continental breakfast, take my hot plate.
Yep.
I actually have started taking my own coffee pot and brewing my own coffee. A griddle, a plate, utensils. I actually would take rock salt at time if the room didn't have any refrigeration.
Yep.
So rock salt keeps it a little cooler. And the same thing as you, bike special needs, run special needs. And now I have my morning clothes bag, my T1 bag, and my T2 bag. And at some races you do get an extra bib number. You don't, because you don't need to wear it on your on the bike ride. So often you'd get two of them, and I'd just back the second one just to make sure I had it. So, but same general type of gear.
Well, you needed to write a macro to get this into PowerPoint.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, get Chat GPT to do that for me.
And it absolutely could.
Yeah.
Do you, that's just an interesting question. Do you know how to write macros for Excel? I know you're a wizard with Excel.
No, I actually don't do macros in
Oh,
Excel. Once I go to that level, I'm actually writing a program in MATLAB at that point. So,
okay. Got
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Just was wondering.
yeah,
So John, I know we got a little bit more time here tonight, but when you put together this, then do you, after the race, go back and look? I know you like to look at
yeah.
your data and stuff, but do you go back and look and say, you know what, I wish I would have had this, or, I didn't need this? Like,
I
do
do.
you?
Yeah, I do keep notes, but they're handwritten notes in another binder, which I should have brought up here.
Yeah,
Uh, and I have my older log that I would keep all my notes in here,
yeah,
post race. And then I would go back, when I'm prepping for another race, or maybe the same race, just a different year. And I'd look at what I wrote down there for schedule or gear, things I needed, things I didn't need. And so, yeah, I mean, there's some things I would eventually not take. It's too much of something.
yeah.
Um,
But we're all, especially if you're driving to a race, better to have too much than not enough,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
It's funny, like oftentimes I end up with a lot more than is on my list,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because, oh, well, why don't I just throw that in there? Just
Yeah, right.
throw that in there, throw that in there. When you're flying to a race, especially if you're flying internationally and weight matters and
Yeah.
things like that, sometimes you don't.
Mhm.
But yeah, I do the same thing. I try and, like, maybe a week later,
Yeah.
things are gonna calm
Yep.
down a little bit. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
what did I not have that I wish I would have had? Or sometimes I'll see somebody else with something.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, that's a good idea, like a
Uh,
sleeping bag.
yeah. I was going to bring that up. I love that idea now. I'm going to add that to my list.
So yeah, post race, in a cold weather post race,
Mm.
you got an old sleeping bag.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I wish I would have had an old sleeping bag at the race last weekend after.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Right. Right.
It
Or
it
even,
wasn't it is amazing how cold you can get
well, even at
after the race.
Oceanside, I mean,
Yeah.
you can be sitting there and watching the awards, and it can get just a little bit chilly because if you get a breeze going,
Yeah.
and
Oh,
all of
it
a
can be
sudden
50
there's,
degrees with wind for
yeah,
sure.
yeah, yeah.
And last year was an interesting one because last year's Oceanside was cold the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, even on
That's
the
true.
run, the sun never really came out. I think it rained even a
Hmm.
little bit,
Yeah.
and the sun never came out. I never felt hot at
Right.
all. And
Right.
then when I finished, I needed clothes.
Mm-hmm.
because I was wet.
Yeah.
You're producing, especially because it's so humid there, you're producing a lot of,
Hmm.
sweat, and it's not evaporating off of you.
Hmm.
And I can remember like, oh man, I just wanted to get in some dry clothes.
Yeah, right,
And
right.
um,
Now I'm gonna pack my sleeping bag for
yeah,
Oceansides.
I like that
Yeah,
idea.
I
See if
do.
Maria will bring my sleeping bag to the finish for me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I've got a nice small one, for camping, and I take it in my trailer all the time, and I keep it in my car, just you never know, and
Yep,
yeah, I'm just going to transition that over to my bag. So,
yep. So speaking of this kind of stuff, where do you see kind of like the pitfalls in these lists, and do you?
oh, it's the obsessive nature of doing this, and then you keep checking and checking and checking. Now you worry, did I check the list, and did I really put it in there, or what have you? And most of the time, you're going to be okay. Like we've each lost our socks at Oceanside last time. We
Yep,
were okay,
yep.
and racing is often problem solving. But the fewer problems you can, if you can reduce problems ahead of time, that's good. But I think it's the obsessive nature of trying to get ready.
Yeah, and I guess I'd like to add that like racing is fun, right?
Hmm.
And for me, and I think you as well, like problem solving is fun.
Yeah,
And this is part of like helping to solve the problem.
yeah, yeah.
But this is not for everybody. Not everyone likes this kind of thing. And I mean, if you want to, try it, go ahead and try it. If it's not for you, that's fine
Hmm.
as well. But I know like for myself, like I don't sleep well the night before a race, and I
Hmm.
was doing this stuff to help me sleep better,
Yeah, right,
right?
right.
Because once again, it takes like the variables out of play.
Hmm.
The other thing that I've, really been working on, and we could talk more about this maybe down the road, is, the day before and actually having a script for the day before.
Hmm. Hmm.
Like when I'm going to eat, when I'm going to do my pre-ride, when I'm going to set up my transition, when I'm going to go, to bed, when I'm going to, all of the things, and what I'm going to do before I go to bed, to help
Hmm.
me wind down.
Yeah,
And that's, believe it or not, it's actually helping. Like the last couple races, I've been sleeping a little bit better.
yeah.
And you have to recognize those anxieties. And I actually did have a conversation with a sports psychologist about this. And one of the things they talked about was like having lists and checklists, and
Hmm.
to help reduce your anxiety.
Yeah.
So
Oh, totally. Because there are times where I've been lying in bed race night, and all of a sudden I pop up and I'm like, oh, I didn't put that in the bag.
yep,
And so your mind is racing, thinking about lots of different things. And I remember when we had Dr. Brad Donahue
yep,
on talking about even being very intentional with the mental skills part of your race. So even having those intentional things that you're going to say during a race is something that he would say you got to do that ahead of time. You don't do that on the fly.
yeah, yeah, completely agree. And so yeah, I think this can help with the mental side if you struggle with anxiety.
Mhm.
um Lists might help you, maybe not,
Yeah,
but
well, and you're right, because the other part of this, the dark side, is the exercise addiction.
yeah,
And this just sort of plays into that you are becoming overly obsessive. And sometimes if you're traveling to a race, when we went to Mont Tremblant or Whistler or what have you, I mean, it's partly a vacation.
yeah,
And so you want to enjoy that travel and the trip as well as enjoy the race.
yeah.
And so sometimes you do get conflicted where you're obsessing over, well, I can't find that little tub of Vaseline that needs to go in this and this bag and this bag, and no, you're going to be okay. It's but it is important to still enjoy the race and whatever travel you're doing.
Yeah. It's hard though, like especially if you're trying to have a result, right? On a
Hmm.
travel race, you're trying to get a qualifying spot, you're trying to get a
Yeah,
podium. To me, like traveling to the world championship races, I love it because
yeah,
there's no pressure,
right.
right? Like I'm not going to get on a podium at a 70.3 worlds,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And it doesn't matter if I'm 40th or 50th or 60th, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So the anxiety goes way down.
Hmm.
If I'm going to a race and I'm going to try and get a spot in that race, the
Yeah.
anxiety level definitely goes up. And once again, these things for me help with that.
Hmm. Yeah, no, me too. And it is, but I think you and I each approach this with um, I want to say a healthy attitude. At least
Yeah,
internally, I think it's healthy because it's not like I'm looking for that, red, you know, extra thing that goes in, in the detail like that. It's more very broad type of I need this. I need my goggles. I just don't want to forget my goggles.
yeah. And
I
the
need
truth of the matter is, I don't have to have my goggles. Like
I
if
need my
something
helmet.
happened,
I don't want to forget my helmet.
yeah, like, and I want to have my helmet, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
the last thing I want to do is go down to get to Oceanside
yeah,
and not have my helmet and have to go
yeah,
buy a helmet
yeah,
that's not the
yeah,
helmet
yeah,
I
yeah, right,
want,
right, right.
right? Because that's what I would do. I would buy
Yeah,
a helmet.
yeah,
Good luck finding an arrow
yeah,
helmet, right?
yeah,
I would buy some random helmet and
yeah,
I'd be miserable,
yeah,
right? So, and I don't want to be that.
right, right.
So,
Well, and on that same topic, I mean, and I've mentioned this here, is I've forgotten to put my heart rate monitor on, and all of a sudden I've realized that it's too late to try to go put it on, and at that point you just gotta say, huh, yeah, I don't need the heart rate monitor.
no,
I'm going to be okay. Oh.
speaking of heart rate monitors, since we got just a few more minutes here, the Garmin 965 came out
Yeah, yeah,
yesterday,
I gotta look at
the day
that.
before, and the reviews are looking like the heart rate monitor actually works
Oh, really? For wrist or wrist-based
for
one?
wrist.
Oh, okay, yeah, they're notoriously terrible.
I know, but I watched the DC Rainmakers
Yeah,
review of it, and other than a few times when he was like going doing interval work,
yeah, yeah.
it didn't do so well on a few of the intervals. But I'm thinking,
Mhm.
like, for me, I don't really care about my heart rate too much in the intervals. Like on a
Right,
bike,
right,
or even running, I'm not
right.
looking at the heart rate
Yeah, right,
on
right.
the intervals. But like for a long distance race,
Uh-huh.
and for steady state stuff, it looked really good.
Yeah.
Um, so maybe, just maybe, we can get to
Mm,
a point where you don't have to wear chest straps
get in there.
anymore.
Oh, wow. That'd be great. Yeah, one less thing to have on our list.
One less thing, and then I'd forget my watch, and then it would be a
Yeah,
problem.
right. Yeah, have I forgot my watch? I don't think I've forgotten my watch, but I mean, at one point I was wearing two watches because the battery length just wasn't the
Oh, for
capacity
long
just
distance
wasn't good enough.
racing.
Yeah, yeah. So you have two different GPS watches, but
All right.
you
Well,
know,
well, go ahead.
I've gone to a race and we saw Max commented on when I posted the topic, he forgot his bike shoes. I've gone to a race. I've forgotten my run shoes
Yep.
and I had to run in my sandals. I've gone to a race. I've gone to a bike race and forgot my bike. But it was this
That's
thing. It was
that's
this
not
thing.
good.
I
Yeah.
had to pick up someone who was visiting in town, and we had such a tight schedule. And I got in the car. He said, "Okay, I got to get him at this point, and then we got to get out to this place." And we're driving along, and all of a sudden, he asked something about my bike, and I'm like, uh, "We got to go back."
For getting your bike to a bike race, that's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's
Yeah,
a good one. You
that's
know,
why I make a list.
that's why I make a list
Hey,
too.
we don't have bike on our list though. That's terrible.
It is terrible.
Yeah,
Oh, darn it. I guess if I
uh,
bring all my nutrition and stuff out for my bike,
yeah.
I've actually never forgot my bike to a triathlon.
Yeah.
I haven't.
Well, there's still time. Don't worry.
There's there's still time. I can tell you one thing for sure, John.
Yeah,
Neither you or I will mess up our sock situation at
yeah,
Ocean.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I could promise you, it's still in my brain. Like, oh my
yeah.
gosh, I gotta get my socks. You know, the other one that's I've actually struggled with, like, the last 4 races or 5 races, and this is a weird one, and that it's not something I can have a list for.
Hmm.
Tightening my shoes in T2. Like, you know, I have the elastic laces.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm really loose to get my
Oh,
shoes
right, right,
on.
right,
And
right.
then I start running,
Yeah,
and I get 200-300 meters down the road, and I'm like, oh, my shoes are like super loose.
yeah,
And I got to stop and like,
yeah,
and cinch them up. I'm like, and I think it's been 4 or 5 races in a row I've had to do this.
yeah,
And I'm
yeah,
like, I cannot do this again. Like,
yeah, right.
because it's just not it's not great when you're running along. Oh yeah, I gotta stop and
Yeah,
tighten the shoes. Oh my gosh.
right.
Silly stuff.
Well, it's funny you say that because actually that was something that was popping in my head in terms of mistakes that I've made, really not paying attention to some of those details. And one was not loosening my shoelaces
Oh,
in
free.
training, putting the shoes down. And then you get in and you're trying to get your foot in. You're like, wait a second, what's going on here? And you're in race mode. And that can be a little bit of a
And then
pain.
you shove it in anyways, and your tongue's
That's
upside
right.
down, and
That's right. And then also, because I only wear my Aero helmet every now and then, yeah, outside of racing. And I remember getting to a race and realizing that the strap was too tight, from, whenever I had tightened it, and it was too tight at this race, and had to
and
turn
you
it
couldn't
off.
get it on.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
Uh,
And sometimes the Aero helmet buckles are a little bit different than your training buckle. And if you're not, if you don't practice putting that on ahead of time and remember how to buckle it or how to unbuckle it, that can be a bit of a nightmare. So
all these little things, and
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
saying this is the problem solving, and
yeah,
what makes triathlon so, I don't know, cerebral,
yeah.
and it's not just physical, right? Like
No.
all these little things add up, and
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
once again, just being prepared for almost anything
Yeah.
is important. So,
So what do you get this weekend?
well, I'm coming out with a cold, I feel like,
Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I think I'm
Buckle
just gonna
down.
lay low.
Mm-hmm.
I really was looking forward to some good training. We got
Yep.
basically 3 more weeks of good training for
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
Oceanside, but I don't want to push it.
No,
So,
right, right.
like I'm out for like 10 or 12 days. I'm hoping this
Mm-hmm.
will just be a few days. And so I think I'm just gonna lay low.
Good.
I might do some blood flow restriction training. So I could
Okay.
like get on the bike for like 20 minutes with blood flow restriction training and not raise my heart rate.
Yeah.
Uh, Same with like walk on the treadmill with blood flow restriction.
Good. Good.
That's a little thing. If you do blood flow restriction and you're not well, you
Yeah.
can still do it and not raise your heart rate.
Okay. Good.
So that's probably all I'm gonna do. Just
Yeah.
and maybe on Sunday if I feel good, I might go for a ride. It's supposed to be super windy again this weekend, though. I
It's
think.
gonna be windy again, and yeah, I'm done. I'm ready for the hot weather.
Me too. I'm ready to get outside on my bike. I've been outside one time this
Mm,
year on my bike,
wow,
and
wow.
that is not cool. Like,
No,
and it's not that I haven't wanted to be outside on my bike. It's just like when I've had time to be on
mm-hmm.
my bike, it's been crummy.
Yeah, yeah,
A few nice days we've had have been like we got to go to work.
yeah, right. And
Or
crummy, really crummy too. I mean, it's just yeah. So well, good. Well, we've got Jackpot Ultra on this side of town happening this weekend. So I'm gonna do my run. I'm gonna run down there. I always like to see what they do gear wise and setting up their stations,
oh,
and
that's right.
that's always fun to see that. So I'll go. I'll run by that way and probably see a few folks that we know doing the event. So
And then don't forget Monday, five
yep,
o'clock, we have our Las Vegas Triathlon Club group
yep.
Zwift ride. So I've seen there's been quite a few people sign up, so I think
Oh, good.
it's gonna be fun. So
Yep.
I'll put out some more details on the Facebook page
Okay.
this weekend for that.
Oh, that'll be fun.
All right.
All right. Good deal. Well, good
All right, good
talking.
stuff. Yep. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, you too.
Okay,
I
bye-bye.
think I'm going to spend it updating my list now.
I probably will do a few things too in my Oceanside list, so that'll be good. All right. Have a
Hey,
good
good talking.
weekend.
All right,
Okay.
you too.